Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is March 7th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see we got some high clouds moving across the area. You could see yesterday our storm kicking off to the east there as well. Glorious day out there yesterday for most locations, even in the 50s. When you break out of winter time here across the Pacific Northwest, when you get that sunshine, it does feel quite nice. But we've got an atmospheric river that's bearing down on western British Columbia. It's really going to target Vancouver Island and some in northwest Washington. We'll take a look at the latest on that. And then we have a very deep low that's going to form off the coastline and move up towards Vancouver Island. We'll take a look at the latest on that possible bomb cyclone here as we go through next week. Now, if you guys would check out Worldwide Weather Watch, I would appreciate it here. We're up over 1,500 subscribers. I'll try to do daily videos here. No promises on that. The California and the Pacific Northwest Weather Watch channels will take priority, but I'll do some fun educational stuff. We'll check out crazy weather across the world and do all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, check it out if you would. So looking at apparent temperature right now, you can see it does feel pretty chilly out there. You can see with the higher terrain, this takes wind chill into account as well. Not looking too warm this morning, but it should warm up for some areas as we go through the day today. In fact, it will warm up, but you know, we're not looking at any hot temperatures or anything like that, but it will feel quite nice out there for those of you guys in and out of the sunshine as the high clouds pass during the day today. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, check it out. This does UV index, solar radiation. It's all solar powered. This lightning detection system with it as well. It's easy to mount, and you can mount this on a pole. You just remove that and you put screws into the base and reattach it. It's really nice. You can put it onto a wood fence pole, for example, and it's totally wireless, long range as well. So click on the link down below if you want to save 10% off on that. Looking at lightning strikes over the last 24 hours, nothing across Washington, Oregon, Idaho, or Montana. You'd have to go down across Utah and portions of Wyoming, Nevada, or California to get lightning yesterday. Nothing across British Columbia as well. So let's take a look at what is to come here. We got the European on the left, hot off the presses, 12Z versus the GFS 12Z. There's Washington, Hawaiian Islands, bottom left, storm system over California, pushing off in towards the day on tomorrow, Saturday afternoon. The atmospheric river is going to be roaring across Vancouver Island, and you can see the trough setting up here on the coastline. We get this frontal system that passes through, another system trying to visit the California waters there, and then what we're watching is this next Gulf of Alaska trough really getting ramped up. You can see pretty good agreement through hour 108 on the GFS and the European. We started to get a little bit of disagreement here as the European wants to develop a much stronger low versus the GFS, as you can see. And this trough is somewhat elongated here. So there's similarities there. And you can see the GFS also try to spin up a low pressure system, but it wouldn't be as strong as what the European is showing. So we're still getting that model discrepancy on how strong that low is going to be and just where exactly it is going to get placed. But it has been shown on the European some windy conditions. So we do have to pay attention to this low as we go on in through next week. This would be Wednesday morning, and you can see that low really under development on the day Tuesday. So yeah, we'll see what kind of consolidation we get over the next couple of days, because we still have the differences, as you can see. And look at the Canadian on the left versus the Germany model on the right. And we put this into motion, and you can see the closed low come off the California waters there, and then we go to the Gulf of Alaska troughing. And these, you know, the Canadian doesn't really show that low spinning up too much. The German, sorry, not the European, spins this up a little bit better towards Vancouver Island, but still not as strong as what the European model is showing. So we can't start sounding alarms yet on just how strong this low is going to be. Still see we got that model discrepancy, even though the troughing is there in all the models. Now looking at the European, the 12Z run, again, hot off the presses. Here we go, atmospheric river as we're going through the day today. We're hitting Vancouver Island, western British Columbia. The axis of that atmospheric river kind of points towards northwest Washington at times as we go through tomorrow morning. You can see just skirting the Seattle metro here. South Washington Cascades remain dry. Oregon largely dry all the way on in through Sunday morning. And you can see the precipitation, though, just continues across some of Vancouver Island and southwestern BC. Decent snowmaker for the higher terrain, but we're not looking at much below 3,000 feet, for example. And then the frontal system starts to kick through as we go through the day Sunday, impacting some of the Washington Cascades. It's weakening dramatically by the time it reaches Oregon, though. And then we get a bit of some onshore flow, hopefully dropping some snowfall there across British Columbia as well. It doesn't show much for Washington that round. But then look at the next system out here. And the European is quite dramatic as it shows a bomb cyclone developing off our coastline. So 12Z on Tuesday morning, that's about 4 a.m. You can see 1,003 millibars. And if we go towards Wednesday morning at 12Z, 29, well, you're looking at over 30 millibar drop in a 24-hour period. That would equate to bomb cyclone status. And that's all a bomb cyclone is the rate of pressure drop in a 24-hour given period. But it would meet that criteria. Very strong storm. Look to be targeting some of the Washington coast, some of the northwest interior, and Vancouver Island. Could bring some windy conditions elsewhere as well. I'll show you some of that here in a moment. But you see a fairly deep low moving right in towards Vancouver Island would be a fairly substantial storm system there. A little bit too far away for a major windstorm here for Washington or Oregon, however, and that frontal system associated moves down all the way towards Baja California. Now, taking a look at last night's European Ensemble members. So what this shows is all 50 of the Ensemble members on the European. Each one of those 50 Ensemble members has their initial conditions tweaked in the atmosphere, and then we run those out and we see what it shows us. So let's go off and see what it shows as far as that low pressure is concerned. And you can see it's got pretty good agreement here. There's a lot of deep low members out there, 963, 65, 967. So the European is pretty steadfast. It's been very consistent on showing that deep low right off our coastal regions. And at times it's been showing some strong gusts getting even towards Seattle, Olympia, some of western Washington, Oregon, Washington coast, northwest interior, and especially Vancouver Island. And we play that through and you can kind of see the low fill as it moves up over British Columbia. But now looking at the artificial intelligence, let's see what it shows. The atmospheric river this weekend, that's, virtually a slam dunk into Vancouver Island air, weakens by the time it gets towards Oregon. And then look at this. It develops a system, again, it continues to do this. It develops a system quicker. It'd still be a strong frontal system, but not nearly the monster low that would be being on the European deterministic run. And then we scroll off into the future and you can see it continues to throw some haymakers here at the Pacific Northwest, additional systems rolling in through the region here as we go through the March 17th timeframe, and then maybe a break after that. Who knows? We'll wait to see what it's going to show later on. 12Z European model. Let me update this and get the most recent information. This is total precipitation. Again, look at Vancouver Island just being targeted here and clipping portions of western Washington. The Olympic Mountains under the gun here as we go through the day Sunday as well. Finally starts to rain on the day Sunday for Seattle, Cascades, but again, weakening by the time it gets to Oregon. And you can kind of see the axis of that atmospheric river pointed right into Vancouver Island, clipping northwest Washington. And again, the higher terrain to BC is going to make out well with some of these snowfall amounts, but we're not looking at lower elevation amounts by any stretch of the imagination. And if we look at total snow-Kuchera ratio, and we're going to scroll out here a bit, and as we go through mid-March, we're looking at a couple rounds of decent snowfall, even some lower elevation snowfall on some of the higher hills. We're not talking about things accumulating in Seattle just yet. We'll continue to watch, see if that is a possibility. It's extremely difficult to get snow into the lower terrain at this time of year for Portland and Seattle, for example. But the Cascades, Washington, Oregon, all the way down through the Sierras can still make out quite well at this time of year. And why is that important? Well, if you check out places like, you can look at some of these individual areas like Stevens Pass, for example. If we check that out, the median for this time of year is right around 33, 34, 35 inches of snow water equivalent. And we're below that right now, 82%. And during the La Nina year, that is really not a good look. And I could try to search in here to see if we could find Snoqualmie Pass as well. There's Fish Lake. Here we go. Lolly Meadows. Do we have Snoqualmie on here, or is it name it as such? Well, there's Stampede Pass. Let's check out that. See, a measly 64%. We're only right around 20 inches of snow water equivalent. We're usually up around 30, 32 or so. And you can see in some of the higher years, you could be up over 50. So not a good look for a La Nina year. So we really need this to pan out. And on this map, you can also go down towards places like Oregon, and you can go visit, places off to the east. There's Snow Mountain. Let's check this out. 220% of normal, but you got to kind of use caution with that. It's you're looking at 8, 9 inches or 9 inches average, and we're up at 20, so it's double, but it's not there's not a lot of water being stored in the mountains out there. That's why some of these numbers can be skewed quite dramatically. And you can go to the Hood, Sandy, Lower Deschutes, and you can kind of see we are below the mean here for the beginning portion of March. So yeah, we got some work to do. Hopefully we can make up some of that snowpack as we go through March and April. Now, taking a look at the national blend of models. This is for today. Again, going to be in and out of the sunshine here for a lot of the region. There we go for tomorrow, Saturday. Then Sunday, the frontal system's moving through, bringing rain to Seattle. But still on the south side of that atmospheric river, could get some nice weather. It'll be fairly warm out there, relatively speaking. And then we go through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You see how we got these systems rolling in here, and we keep the temperatures a bit on the cooler side as we go towards the following weekend. And the 12Z European simulated infrared satellite imagery. So there's the atmospheric river. It finally pushes through. Then we wait for our bomb cyclone on the European anyway to develop, and look at that. Looks like a hurricane off our coastline. Would be bringing some very windy conditions for the coastal areas and really a powerful blow for Vancouver Island. And we'll be watching to see how far inland some of these strong wind gusts are going to get. But look at that low just spun up right on Vancouver Island by the time we go to very early on Wednesday morning. Interesting stuff. Now looking at 100-meter wind speed. So check this out. You can kind of see the atmospheric boundary just kind of hanging out there right into Vancouver Island, clipping northwest Washington at times. And then it starts to weaken as it moves down across Washington and Oregon. Then we watch for that deep low development there. And you can see the bent back occlusion associated here with the strongest winds of the storm, kind of a coastal jet up the Oregon coast. And look at that, just narrowly missing Washington there. Some pretty strong wind gusts for Quileute, and then just slamming into Vancouver Island. Some very gusty winds up the Strait of Georgia. Victoria, BC would be getting some big winds out of this. San Juan's here, Whidbey Island as well, and potentially some strong gusts for some of the Puget Sound here as well. I'll show you more on that here in a moment. But if we look at the latest, this is the 12Z data. So you can see it shows 43 for Seattle. That's fairly windy here, but this late in the season here when we don't have leaves on trees and a lot of the trees have been pruned and they're used to some of these stronger winds, not too big of a deal. The last windstorm did do tree damage and it did do some crazy stuff, but had that been an early season windstorm, it would have been extremely destructive. 58 miles per hour at my house. Later in the year, for example, in late February, is much different than if you were to get a system like that during the month of September, October, or even early November when, there's still leaves on trees and trees are not yet tested and they've been sitting kind of idle all summer. But you see some of these stronger gusts across the northwest interior. And again, there's that bent back occlusion. Look at Quileute, 64 miles per hour. That's starting to get a little bit wild, and some gusts potentially 55, 60 along the Oregon, Washington coast and Vancouver Island with a pretty big blow under this circumstance, if this were to verify. Now, if we take a look at the 06Z, look at the difference here. That was 50 for Seattle on last night's run. So you got to watch out for some of these wind gusts out there. They could be taking down some trees and whatnot still, because on the flip side of, even if it's a late season storm, there could be still some trees that have been damaged in previous years. A lot of times when I go out and study tree damage during these windstorms, a lot of times you'll find out that there's been rot developing in some of these trees that look otherwise healthy for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of rot before finally a windstorm comes along and triggers it enough to break that tree. And you might not know it there unless you are actively studying that said individual tree. So it can fall on your house or it can fall on your head if you're walking around in a park. So again, there was last night's run, blustery for the Willamette Valley as well, but strongest along the coast. But those are pretty decent gusts across some of the interior Puget Sound region. And you can see Seattle last night's Ensemble 50, and you see we do have more than just a handful showing 50 plus mile per hour gusts. We got to watch that storm system, even though the mean is probably in the mid 30s there, because there's a lot of these Ensemble members with not much on the way of wind. Quileute, Washington, though, we're gaining confidence in some strong winds, 60 plus miles per hour, not out of the question. Some of them are even higher. But again, some of them are showing, not too much generally, but I have a feeling this is going to be increasing on the 12 Zulu run. This was last night's run. Here's Tillamook, blustery up and down the Oregon coast, but not a big windstorm by any stretch of the imagination. Here's Tofino, Long Beach up on Vancouver Island. This is in kilometers per hour, so 60 plus mile per hour gusts, not out of the question. Whidbey Island, you can see some upper 50s showing up. And also on the day, Saturday night into Sunday, it's going to be a bit blustery across some of the northwest interior as well. Thought I'd point that out. So this is the 06Z. Actually, the 12Z data is running, but we don't have much of it just yet. So we'll back up to the 06Z run. This is the Ensemble mean, and you can see, again, the European is just pretty set on this, troughing here, and all the models agree on it. So we're looking at that coming in here on Tuesday of next week, and that's where that big storm would be developing. Something fun to look at here, season date snowfall total. This is from October 1st, the start of the water year. Look at that, SeaTac officially about 2.5. I believe that is Renton there, but you can see places like Snoqualmie Pass and Stevens Pass up over 300 inches of snowfall. You can look down towards Oregon as well, and you can see the entire Pacific Northwest amount of snowfall season to date. Here's 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, 6 to 10 day precipitation, 8 to 14 days. So we got the above normal precip and below normal all the way in through March 20th. And again, we'll be breaking that down day by day. So hopefully you'll check back daily to see for yourself on the channel here. And again, taking a look at what's going on. I might go out and look to see if I can get some lenticular clouds. I see them popping off of Mount Rainier right now. My buddy has a webcam pointed out towards Mount Rainier, and I have full-time access to it. So it's kind of fun watching that. And there may be another chance tomorrow as well. So I'm not decided if I'm going to go out today or tomorrow quite yet. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, check out the Worldwide Weather Watch channel if you would, and click subscribe and check out those videos and let me know what you think. And I will talk to you guys again tomorrow.